Hi everyone, hope you're having a good weekend. We're going to go over week 10 that we've got up here. So this week we're going to be finishing up your research logs. By the time you finish research log 6, you will have a total of 8 sources spread over 6 research logs. So the reason you have 8 is because for both research log 1 and 6 you had 2 sources. So I want to go over a few things in more detail about what you're doing this week, starting with research log 5. And you'll see that you have 2 options for where to find your sources this week. I strongly suggest that you spend quite a bit of time searching option 1 because this is it's been such a successful place for students to find sources in the past, the Atlantic magazine. The Atlantic has many in-depth sources, but that are meant for the general public. So students usually find them very easy to read and find these sources engaging, and they have articles on any topic that you can think of. So as you can see, I ask you to try to be very selective on which articles you click to actually view, because they've recently set up a paywall and you can access 3 full-text articles before you're asked to pay for a subscription. That may actually be 4. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. But as you're searching, only click on articles that seem like they are really in line with what you want. So to search the Atlantic, you can click up here in the upper left-hand corner, and let's see, I'm going to just type in education and literacy. And the first few things that come up you can just scroll past because those are ads. And then you will see the articles, the full-text articles from the Atlantic that you have access to. Okay, so you can see a lot of them kind of go along with some of the things that we have talked about in class and that might work with several of your own topics. And I want to show you something that can be helpful with the Atlantic for the final 2 sources that you find in Research Log 6. So in Research Log 6, which I'll go over in a few minutes, you're going to find 2 more sources, and you might actually use this Atlantic source that you find to find 1 or 2 of those sources. So the Atlantic is really good about hyperlinking within their articles, and hopefully this one will be a good example of that. If not, I'll find another one. But as you can see, anything that is underlined is a hyperlink to that source. Okay, so if I click on this, it's going to take me to another Atlantic article. Sometimes it will take you to, let's see where this one takes me. This one takes me to an article in Education Week. So this can be a good way of finding other relevant sources that are part of the conversation around your topic. So the Atlantic, again, has really great resources and in-depth but very readable and accessible articles that most students really enjoy. So I strongly recommend you using the Atlantic for Research Log 5. If for some reason you don't like the Atlantic, there's absolutely nothing you can find in there, you can use either the reference lists or note sections or hyperlinks like I just did within the Atlantic from one of your previous sources to find a new source. Okay, so that would be going back to one of the sources from Research Logs 1 through 5 and looking at their endnotes or what's called their reference list or works cited or any hyperlinks within the article to find a new source. But again, I think most people will be able to find something from the Atlantic for Research Log 5. Okay, and then for Wednesday, you're going to be doing this activity called Organizing Sources for the Reader's Guide. So as we're wrapping up the research logs, we're looking ahead to how these are going to work in the Reader's Guide. So it's really important that you take some time on this assignment because you're first going to review the Reader's Guide overview. Okay, so you've probably looked at this already before a few weeks ago, but I want you to review it and watch this video. And then you're also going to be looking at the editor's introduction assignment. Okay, the editor's introduction is part of the reader's guide, and it is the main essay that you'll be writing about your research. It's not a thesis-based essay as you've done in the past. Instead, it acts as an introduction to your collection of sources that you've been gathering. And there are 3 distinct sections of the editor's introduction. All right, so please make sure that you look through them. The activity that we'll be doing for this week, the organizing sources activity, you can see I mentioned it here, is you're going to be coming up with categories for the sources that you have found so far, and these directions walk you step by step through what I want you to do. So you're going to put some information about each of the sources that you've found on a card, okay, and then arrange them into groups or categories, okay. So you will have 6 sources so far, and you're going to be looking for where some gaps are in your research that you might want to fill in for the 6th research log. Okay, so you can see these categories here are not pro and cons or positive and negative. That is too simple of a categorization for your sources. You need to come up with more interesting and more categories that are not so black and white as positive and negative and pro and con, because most situations or topics are not that black and white. So you're putting the cards into categories, and then you're going to be taking a picture and submitting that to this assignment. Okay, so you can submit it in the text box, as I said here, or as an image file, as a JPEG, to the assignment. Okay, so what you're going to do then for Research Log 6 is a little bit different. You're going to be using this activity to decide where the gaps were in your overall topic, and find the last 2 sources based on gaps that you have identified in the organizing sources activity. Okay, so you can do this through any of the previous ways that we have found sources in the research log. So you could go back to the Atlantic and look for sources there if you want. Okay, so because this is a quick turnaround and it's due Wednesday, you do not need to do the key terms or editor's commentary or summarizing for them, because I want you to just identify them. You will eventually have to do these things for the reader's guide, but for our purposes this week, we want you to just fill those gaps that you see in your topic with these sources. Okay, and then finally this week, you all did the composing processes on this past Friday, and that was meant to set you up for the way we're going to start writing this editor's introduction, which is the main piece of writing that you'll do for the reader's guide. So in her essay, Shitty First Drafts, Anne Lamott says the first draft is the down draft, you just get it down. So this is what you're going to do for Friday. So you're going to write a down draft that touches on all 3 parts of the editor's introduction in at least a rough form. Keeping in mind that the eventual final product needs to be 1,500 words. But for the down draft, you just want to get 500 words down. They can be bad. It doesn't have to be good. You just want to get it down. And if you did not do the studio, go back to it, do it, and this will make more sense to you. Okay? So you're going to submit that, and that is it for this week. Please let me know if you have any questions, and keep up the good work.